Have you ever noticed the tighter you hold on to something, the faster it slips away? A person you love, an opportunity you crave, even money itself. It feels almost cruel. The harder you try to keep it, the more certain it is to leave. Why? Because reality hides a paradox that is the key to freedom. Lao Tzu, in the Tao Te Ching, whispered a truth that still shocks the human mind. He said, "To contract something, you must first allow it to expand. To weaken something, you must first let it grow strong. And most importantly, to gain something, you must first learn to give it away." At first glance, these words sound like riddles. They feel illogical, even dangerous. But that's because our ordinary thinking is trapped. We are trained to chase, to cling, to fight, to control. And yet the Tao tells us the true path to receiving is hidden in the art of letting go. This principle is not about manipulation. It is not about pretending to release while secretly clenching tighter. It is about recognizing the rhythm of the universe itself. Every force, when pushed to its extreme, turns into its opposite. Every expansion eventually contracts. Every gain begins with loss. This is not philosophy alone. It is physics. It is psychology. It is the law of energy itself. Think about water. The more you try to grab it with a clenched fist, the faster it drains away. But if you open your palm, if you allow it to rest, the water stays. This is the Tao in action, the paradox that unlocks the world. Modern life blinds us to this. We are told to hustle harder, grind more, secure what's ours before it's taken. But look closely. How many times has your desperation driven people away? How many times has fear of loss created the very loss you feared? The Tao shows us a different way, a counterintuitive way, a way that feels soft, but is stronger than any brute force. And Lao Tzu gave a name to this paradox. He called it Wei Ming. It means subtle brilliance, a wisdom so fine, so delicate, that it looks weak on the surface, yet it shines with unshakable clarity. Wei Ming is not obvious. It does not shout. It whispers. And only those who pause long enough to listen can hear it. Imagine your life right now. Where are you grasping too tightly? Is it in love? Is it in money? Is it in control over your own destiny? The Tao is telling you, what you desperately try to capture will dissolve. What you gently release will return. To live this way requires courage, because letting go feels like death to the ego. It feels like surrender. It feels like losing. But what if losing is the only way to win? What if surrender is the highest form of mastery? This is the wisdom of chapter 36 of the Tao Te Ching. Not a strategy to trick others, but a mirror reflecting how reality actually works. Take negotiations as an example. The amateur clings to every demand. The master knows when to yield. By giving up the trivial, they gain the essential. By appearing to lose ground, they claim the true victory. This is not weakness. It is precision. It is the subtle brilliance of the Tao. Take relationships. The desperate lover suffocates. The wise lover gives space. And in that space, affection grows stronger. Not because of force, but because of freedom. To love is not to possess. To love is to allow. And what you allow stays. Take your own ambitions. The tighter you grip them, the more anxious you become. But when you focus on growth, on creation, on service, the results flow to you without effort. You no longer chase the outcome chases you. This is why Lao Tzu said, "The soft overcomes the hard, the yielding overcomes the rigid." It is not poetry, it is mechanics. It is the deepest operating system of the universe. So here is the question I leave with you. Will you continue to fight against the flow, grasping until your hands bleed? Or will you open your palm, let the water rest, and discover that letting go was the secret to gaining all along? To go up, it first goes down. To go forward, it first steps back. To gain, it first gives. This sounds upside down to the rational mind. But the Tao is not irrational. It is deeper than rational. It works by reversal. Think of the archer. To hit the target, she must first pull the string backwards. The backward motion creates tension, and tension creates power. Without the reversal, the arrow falls flat. Think of breathing. Every inhale is born from an exhale. Every exhale is born from an inhale. The cycle is not linear, it is circular. Each movement hides its opposite within itself. This is the Tao's hidden algorithm. The strategist Sun Tzu understood this. In The Art of War, he wrote, "When you are near, make the enemy believe you are far. When you are far, make him believe you are near. Appear weak to conceal strength. Retreat to advance. Yield to strike." This is reversal, not as a trick but as alignment with reality's deeper current. Psychology confirms this too. When you push someone, they resist, but when you step back, they lean forward. It is the principle of reactance. The human mind resists force but responds to space. By reversing your approach, you invite the other to move toward you. In negotiation, this means conceding small points to win the larger ones. In creativity, this means stepping away from the problem so the solution can emerge naturally. In personal growth, this means accepting your shadow instead of fighting it, because only in acceptance does transformation begin.
Reversal is not weakness. It is leverage. When you move against the obvious direction, you harness a hidden force. You use the weight of the world itself to move mountains. This is why the Tao compares its wisdom to water. Water flows downward, the opposite of pride. It chooses the lowest places, and because of that, nothing can resist it. Think about your own struggles. Where are you forcing? Where are you insisting the arrow should fly without ever pulling back the string? What if your next breakthrough is not in pushing harder, but in reversing your approach? The Tao whispers, to receive, give. To advance, yield. To be strong, embrace softness. This is not just strategy, it is survival. It is the path of least resistance that becomes the path of greatest power. So let me ask you, where in your life right now do you need reversal? Is it in work, where striving only tightens the knot? Is it in love, where clinging only drives the other away? Is it in your own inner world, where resistance to pain only deepens the wound? The moment you reverse, the moment you yield, the energy shifts, the current changes, and the impossible suddenly becomes possible.
Life does not move in one direction. It sways, it oscillates, it flows like breath, like tides, like seasons. Every rise carries decline within it. Every fall hides a seed of renewal. This is not punishment, it is balance. And balance is not stillness, it is motion.
a constant correction, a living dance between opposites. Think of day and night. They do not fight. They trade places. Each one yields so the other may shine. Think of the heart. It contracts, then expands. If it only contracted, there would be no life. If it only expanded, there would be no rhythm. Life is not either or, it is both and. In Taoist practice, this is called yin and yang. Not good versus evil, not light versus dark, but two forces, complementary and interdependent. Yin softens, yang sharpens. Yin receives, yang gives. Yin cools, yang warms. Together, they form wholeness. The problem is not imbalance itself. Imbalance is natural. We all lean sometimes too far into yin, too far into yang. The problem comes when we resist correction, when we refuse to yield back into balance. That refusal creates suffering. Take relationships. When one person dominates, the other eventually resists. But when each partner alternates, sometimes leading, sometimes yielding, the dance continues. The balance holds. Take business. A company that only grows without pausing to stabilize eventually collapses. A company that only conserves without risking expansion eventually withers. The rhythm of balance is what sustains. Take your own inner world. When you only chase pleasure, pain deepens in the shadows. When you only avoid pain, life grows narrow and dry. Balance is to honor both, to let joy expand you and let pain refine you. Psychology echoes this. Carl Jung said, "No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." Light without shadow is illusion. Shadow without light is despair. Together, they create a full and authentic life. Energy science echoes this too. Systems thrive in dynamic equilibrium, not perfect stillness, but continual adjustment. Your body does this every moment, balancing temperature, balancing blood pressure, balancing chemistry. It never stops moving, but the movement keeps you alive. So here is the wisdom. Stop chasing permanent states. Stop believing happiness must always rise or peace must never be disturbed. That is not balance. That is fantasy. Real balance breathes. It comes. It goes. It rises. It falls. It holds both joy and sorrow within one vast container. Think of a surfer. She does not control the wave. She balances on it. Too rigid, and she falls. Too loose, and she falls. But in the living middle, fluid, flexible, awake, she rides the wave itself. That is balance in motion. So let me ask you, where are you clinging to permanence? Where are you demanding one side of life while denying the other? What would happen if, instead of control, you chose balance? Instead of extremes, you chose rhythm. The more you fight for stability, the more unstable you feel. The more you allow the dance of opposites, the steadier your center becomes. That is the Tao's secret. Not static safety, but dynamic balance. If balance is the rhythm of life, then letting go is the doorway to freedom. Because energy does not stay still. It either flows or it stagnates. And stagnation, no matter how safe it feels, always becomes decay. Think of water again. When it flows, it stays clear. When it's trapped, it turns stagnant. Money works the same way. Love works the same way. Even your creativity works the same way. The more you hold too tightly, the less it can breathe. The less it breathes, the faster it dies. Letting go is not weakness. It is alignment. It is how you place yourself in the current of energy that always moves forward. Trying to grip what wants to move is like trying to freeze a river. It will break your hands before it stops. Notice where energy leaks. When you cling to an old grudge, your body tightens. When you replay a regret, your chest sinks. When you refuse to release what's gone, your energy bleeds into the past. And then you wonder why the present feels so heavy. Letting go is not abandonment. It is rebalancing. It is saying to life, I trust your wisdom more than my fear. And when you do, something shifts. You feel lighter. Your body softens. Your heart makes space for what is next. Science gives us hints. Energy always moves from higher potential to lower, from fullness to emptiness, from pressure to release. This is not just physics. It is psychology. It is spirituality. It is the law of flow. Relationships reveal this most clearly. When you strangle love with control, it flees. When you open your hand with trust, it returns. To keep what matters, you must stop clinging to it. Money is the same. When you hoard in fear, you choke the very channels that could bring more. When you give generously, when you invest in others, when you let money flow like water, its current finds you again. It is not about reckless spending. It is about trusting circulation. Circulation is life. Even your dreams require letting go. Think of a goal you once obsessed over. You gripped it so tightly it felt heavy. But the moment you released the obsession, ideas and opportunities began to appear. Why? Because your energy stopped resisting. It started flowing again. Here's the hidden key. Letting go is not passive. It is active surrender. It is releasing your grip so the larger current can carry you further than your fists ever could. It is the courage to trust the unseen. In Taoist meditation, they say, empty yourself and you will be filled. Release yourself and you will be renewed. This is not poetry, it is instruction. The more you empty, the more energy enters. The more you cling, the more life closes its hand. So try this experiment. This week, choose one thing you have been gripping. A memory, a person, a possession, a fear. And just for one breath, loosen your hold. See what happens. Feel the release. Notice how your energy shifts from tightness to flow. That is Tao in action. The wisdom of letting go is not about losing. It is about opening. Not about giving up, but about giving over to the larger current, to the living Tao. Only when your hands are empty can they be filled. Only when your heart is open can it receive. Letting go is not the end. It is the invitation to something greater.
When you let go, it feels like an ending.
But in the Tao, every ending is a beginning. Every release is secretly a return. Lao Tzu wrote, "Returning is the movement of the Tao." It means what you release does not vanish. It circles back. But different, lighter, renewed, like leaves that fall in autumn only to feed the roots in winter and return as blossoms in spring. The law of return is written everywhere. In your breath, inhale, exhale, inhale again. In your heartbeat, expand, contract, expand again. In the seasons, growth, decline, growth again. Nothing is ever lost. It only changes form. When you give love away, your heart doesn't empty. It grows. When you give knowledge away, your mind doesn't shrink. It sharpens. When you give money away, your worth doesn't diminish. Your channels widen. This is return in action. Return is not always immediate. It tests your trust. You may give today and only see fruit months later. The impatient mind calls it loss. The wise heart knows it is gestation. Like seeds underground, return works in silence, until one day it breaks the surface with abundance. In relationships, return feels like this. You give space to someone you love, and in time they come back with deeper trust. You stop chasing recognition, and suddenly your work shines enough to be noticed. You release the grip of control, and life responds with synchronicity you never planned. Think of a bow. The arrow only flies forward because it was pulled back first. Return is not retreat, it is preparation. The pause that makes the leap possible, the contraction that gives power to the expansion. Modern life forgets this law. We crave instant outcomes. We want return without release, harvest without planting, joy without stillness. But Tao says, first release, then wait, then receive. This rhythm is non-negotiable. Return is also the hidden wisdom of generosity. When you share, you multiply. When you hoard, you decay. Why do some people seem to always attract opportunities? Because they circulate. They understand that life returns whatever they set free. There is also a mystical layer. Return means cycles within cycles. What you think is gone was never gone. That relationship you mourn. It may not come back as the same person, but its essence returns as a new connection. That failure you regret, it may not reverse, but its lesson returns as strength in your next step. Nothing is wasted. Everything returns, transformed. Here's the practice. When you feel the ache of letting go, remind yourself, this is not the end. This is the return in disguise. Say it softly. Breathe it in. Watch how grief shifts into trust. Trust that what is yours by resonance cannot be lost. It can only return. In Taoist imagery, the circle is the sacred shape, not the line. The line is Western time, past, present, future. The circle is Taoist time, release, return, release, return. That's why the sages move with patience. They know the circle always completes itself. When life takes something from you, don't close your fist. Open it wider. Trust the return, because it is already on its way. The Tao reminds us, every outer gesture is first an inner state. If your hand opens, but your heart clings, you have not truly released. True release is invisible. It begins in the posture of your heart, the way you breathe, the way you hold silence, the way you soften your inner grip on what you fear to lose. You cannot fake letting go. You can say, I don't care, but your body betrays your tension. Your energy reveals your fear. Release is not a performance. It is alignment. It is truth. How do you practice this? Begin with breath. Exhale longer than you inhale. Notice how the body, without force, drops its weight into gravity. This is release in micro form, a daily rehearsal for life's greater surrenders. Then, practice in your thoughts. When a worry clings to your mind, don't fight it. Don't analyze it. Write it down, fold the paper, and set it aside. This simple act tells your psyche, I trust it can rest. I will return when clarity is ready. On the emotional plane, release means forgiveness, not condoning, not excusing, but refusing to let past pain occupy your present heart. Forgiveness is not for them, it is for you. It is the art of clearing space so return can enter. On the spiritual plane, release means surrender, not to fate, not to defeat, but to the wisdom of a larger current carrying you to places your mind cannot yet imagine. Surrender is trust embodied. It is the highest form of strength. There is also an energy truth. When you cling, your field contracts. When you release, your field expands. Others feel it instantly. One person feels heavy, as if locked in their own orbit. Another feels spacious, as if standing in sunlight. This difference is not in their possessions. It is in their posture of release. Release also refines perception. When your hands are full, you cannot pick up anything new. When your mind is crowded, you cannot see what is already here. To release is to sharpen vision. It makes the invisible visible. It opens the doorway to synchronicities that were waiting just beyond your grasp.
Here's a practice for the heart. When you feel attachment tightening, pause.
Place your hand on your chest. Whisper, "I allow this to pass through me. I do not need to hold it. If it is mine, it will return." Do this once a day, and your heart learns the rhythm of release. There is wisdom in nature's posture too. Watch a tree in autumn. It does not mourn its leaves. It lets them fall, trusting spring's return. Watch the ocean's waves. Each one rises, only to collapse back into the sea. No wave resists. No wave clings. They know their essence cannot be lost. Release, then, is not weakness. It is alignment with the Tao. It is saying yes to a deeper intelligence that already knows the rhythm of gain and loss. When you master release, you no longer fear loss. And when you no longer fear loss, you become the kind of person life cannot take anything essential from. Because you've already let go inside. You've already returned to center. This is the inner art.
The Tao does not give us straight lines or simple formulas. It gives us paradox, which is the true shape of truth. Lao Tzu whispers, to gain, release, to rise, bow low, to be strong, embrace softness. At first it sounds absurd, but live long enough and you see the paradox was the doorway all along. Think of water. It yields to every container. It flows to the lowest place. And yet, nothing in the world is stronger than water. The weak conquers the strong. The soft wears down the hard. Now think of your own life. What you clung to slipped away. What you surrendered often returned, magnified. The relationship you released years later came back as a friendship stronger than romance. The dream you let go of because you thought it had died transformed into an opportunity that fit you even better. And here is the secret. Paradox is not contradiction. Paradox is depth. It is life saying, reality is wider than logic. The straight path is curved. The way up is down. The fastest way forward is often to pause. To live the paradox is to trust the unseen order. It is to walk into uncertainty without demanding guarantees. It is to say, I will release, not because I don't care, but because I trust the Tao cares more than I can. This trust is not blind. It is an intelligence deeper than calculation. Think of the stock market. Those who chase trends lose. Those who trust cycles win. Warren Buffett once said, "Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful." That is not a business trick.
It is turning with the hidden current, not the obvious surface wave. But paradox is not just for markets. It is for love. It is for creativity. It is for your very soul. The artist who stops trying to impress finally finds their authentic voice. The seeker who stops trying to awaken suddenly awakens. The lover who stops trying to own discovers true intimacy. Stop fighting paradox. Begin living it. Next time you're tempted to force an outcome, try the opposite. Relax, release, and watch how life responds. This is not passivity. It is alignment. It is riding the current instead of thrashing against it. Living the paradox also means holding both hands open, not clenching around certainty, not demanding fixed answers. Instead, you hold space. You let the mystery breathe, and the mystery feeds you more truth than any rigid answer ever could. The Tao of letting go, then, is not about loss. It is about gaining in the only way that lasts, by moving with life instead of against it. When you let go, you make space. When you make space, you invite return. And when you live in that rhythm, you finally see. You never lacked anything at all. To gain, you release. To release, you gain. It is not a trick. It is the way of the Tao. Ask yourself one question. What am I gripping that longs to be released? Release it, not with bitterness, but with trust. Because the Tao whispers, when you let go, you do not fall, you fly.